Hey there! Welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting and other crafts. This is episode 6. I'm Nicole, and I'm coming to you from the Pacific Northwest of the United States, and I'm going to be sharing my knitting with you today. And I can't believe it. On this channel, we have our very first knit along up and running, and people are actually participating. I just last week on Friday had a YouTube cast on party, and there was 65 people that showed up, and I had so much fun. When I suggested doing a Love Note Love Knit Along and people commented on YouTube, I was really excited at the response, but even still I was nervous, like thinking, oh, maybe nobody will show up to the YouTube Live. But I thought if nobody shows up, I'll just talk on YouTube Live like I do on these episodes and it'll be fine. But I was thinking it would be so much more fun if it was interactive. And it was, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how fun it was to do something like that. So I really hope to do more of that in the future because it was so fun. And that being said, the cast on for the Love Note Love Knit Along, which I'm hosting here on this channel and on Instagram and Ravelry, is up and running. It started October 1st and today is October 7th. And by the time you're watching this, it might be October 9th. But it's not too late to join in. The knit along goes until December 1st, and the part of the ways to participate are just participatory. And obviously, there's ways to participate with finished objects as well. And you can check those details out on Ravelry and on Instagram. I have information both those places, but there's plenty of time to still knit a love note. Because you can knit any size, so you could knit a children's one. I've actually knit a love note sweater in 2 weeks before without like strenuous knitting. Just, it was that fun. I could just knit it up in 2 weeks, and it's knitted a larger gauge. So it's not too late to join if you're thinking about it. All right, the other thing I wanted to say is just this week I posted my very first interview on this channel. Basically, I went to Texas and I'm back. I'm in Oregon now. And when I was in Texas, I interviewed the owner of the Knitting Cup, and that interview's on YouTube, and it was super fun to do. And yeah, I'm excited about having that kind of content on this channel, and I will have more of those kinds of things in the future too. So it was really fun to just sort of document my shopping experience essentially, and also hear from the owner. So those are sort of like 2 things about the channel I just wanted to mention. Also, you can find me, and I should have maybe said this at the tip top, but you can find me on Instagram as profpurl and on Ravelry as Professor Purl Podcast. There's a group. My Ravelry name is profpurl as well. And there's an email for the podcast, which is professorpurlpodcast@gmail.com. And I would love for you to email me or direct message me about your project of the Love Note Love Knit Along. I've gotten to know a few viewers that way by them messaging me. Also, if you are a maker and would like to donate some prizes for the knit along, that would be incredible too, and I would be so grateful. Okay, so before I get into my finished objects and works in progress, I do want to announce 3 winners from last week's giveaway. I wrote them down. Okay, so last week I showed some of the progress keepers and stitch markers that were donated from the Hand Stitched Life. I will make sure to include her exact handle on Instagram right here. And basically it's sort of like there's different progress keepers and little stitch markers, which these would be really great to use with your Love Note Love Knit Along for the lace section, the stitch markers. And I guess I include this one in this week's giveaway for sure because it's a Ouija board sort of thing. And I was thinking spooky season, so it might be fun to have that. And there's this one that's kind of like a lollipop with pink and blue with matching blue ones. And this pink glittery one I thought was really cute too. So those are 3. And of course I could send those to one person, all of them, but I was just thinking it would be more fun to have more winners, even if you're just getting something tiny in the mail. So the 3 winners are Valerie J, who I know I follow on Instagram. And so that was fun that she popped up because I knew who that was. Emily Mayat and Fiber Bound, which was very serendipitous because I'm actually participating in Alexandra's Knit Along and truly used a random generator. And so I was like, this is so fun when you're starting to recognize names of people winning. So anyway, congratulations. If I said your name, please send me an email at profpurlpodcast@gmail.com with your contact information, and I will get one of these sent out to you. All right, so, I'm just so excited to hop into my finished objects, but I'm thinking like, here I'm going again, not talking about what I'm wearing again. I'm wearing a knitting shirt from Northwest Purls, and the shirt says, "Nevertheless, she knitted." I think this is an iconic sort of graphic from Northwest Purls because I know you can get this on a bag. I have it on a pin. Of all my knitting t-shirts I own, this one is my favorite. Not only do I love the logo, but it's a really cute tiny v-neck, not too deep of a v-neck, and the material is just really nice and I like the color. So I love wearing this with like a hand knit cardigan over the top. It's like one of my favorite things to do. This is not quite a cardigan. I think you might call it a shrug or something. I knitted a long time ago, and I should have looked up what the name of it is. I think it's Creature Comforts or something like this. It's a free pattern, I think is how I remember it. And it was kind of sponsored by Mathilda. Maybe not, I don't know. But the back side had, the back before I just stand up. The back side has some cabling, which I think was optional. I have no idea. But it had some options where you could do that on the back or not. You could do pockets or not. I did the pockets. I think I did every option it had suggested. It's actually knit as a rectangle. I remember loving knitting it because it was just like a giant rectangle and it was almost like a blanket. It was so big. And then you just sewed the rectangle together with the magic of mattress seaming. Mattress seaming is magical. And it just blows my mind how you like sew it together and then you can't even see it. It's truly magical. So yeah, I love to wear that because it's this rectangle, and I guess maybe you call this a shrug or something. Or maybe you call this a cardigan, I'm not sure. It's very hard for me to tell, even with pockets, what side's the top and what side's the bottom. So what I do is, I don't always wash my sweaters. Like, if I'm being honest, I mostly don't wash my sweaters. I just like wear them, take care of them, and tuck them away. I will wash them occasionally. And so I'll wear this and then just put it away. And I think you can do that with wool. And so anyway, I put a little pin on it just so I know it's the top. And I just always have this pin on it. I never take it off. And unplanned, but the pin is also from Northwest Purls. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little, one of those little tees. You know those boba tees, but it has like little yarn balls instead. I love those kinds of tees. So, I mean, that's probably not surprising. I should have got a boba tee for my Sip Sip Knit segment. Well, that would have been cool. I didn't do that. we'll have to do that in the future. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. It's kind of a work from home day today where I feel like wearing leggings, you know, elastic waist pant kind of situation and being lazy. So yeah, it's a comfy day. So here we are. Let's hop into the finished object. My first finished object is the Ankers summer shirt. I've shown it on previous episodes, but I don't have it with me today because it is drying in my room because I just finished it yesterday and I woven the ends and I wet blocked it, and I just can't wait to have it so it's drying. And it's one of those things I've knit where I really just want the product. I mean, I enjoyed the process, but I can't wait to have that in my wardrobe. And the yarn I knit it in was Cedar House yarns in the colorway Cervidae. I'm just completely obsessed with the Ankers in tweed. I think it looks so cool. And the colorway Cervidae is just, I can't gush about it enough. I mean, I have on how many episodes at this point. It's just so good. And what I will definitely do is pop in a picture or a video of the sweater so that you can see it. I knit this as part of the Ankers Obsessed Knit Along, and so I think it's very appropriate that I am really obsessed with this sweater. The fit on it has turned out fantastic for me. I did knit it short sleeved. Well, it's a short sleeve tee. It's called the Anker Summer Tee or Anker Summer Shirt. But as I was wrapping it up yesterday, I was like kind of laughing at myself at the kind of like irony of me finishing it as we're going into fall and then me knitting it out of tweed. Tweed is not a summer shirt material in my opinion. And so I really knit the Ankers fall shirt. It's in the Ankers summer shirt, but I'm here for it. I love it. I can tell. I actually wear short sleeve sweaters a lot, and I think for me, I will be able to layer it too. So I have like a long sleeve denim shirt I can wear underneath it. I think that will look really cool. And one of the things this Ankers tee has also inspired me to do is it really makes me want to sew a denim skirt. Like I have denim material in my stash. I don't have a lot of fabric stash. I think I have like maybe 3 pieces of fabric. And one of those 3 is this denim material. And I just keep thinking about how cool a denim dress to wear underneath of this Ankers fall shirt would look. Like it would just look really cool, or like a skirt or something. So we'll see if I can get motivated to sew with myself a skirt. I've mentioned this on prior episodes too, where I said I want to knit a Christmas skirt. That's my other fabric I have. So, or I want to sew it. I don't know if I said just knit it, but I want to sew a Christmas skirt as well. All right, so I finished a sweater. That's always exciting. Sort of in line with the Ankers obsession, with the Ankers Obsessed Knit Along, I did finally finish Mathilda's Ankers cardigan. Now, this is not part of the Ankers Obsessed Knit Along because you were supposed to like cast on a certain date. I don't remember. And I had nearly entirely knitted by that point. But what the Ankers Obsessed Knit Along did for me is it made me feel like I should really wrap this up. Maybe not should, it just was motivation for me. So I finally sewed these buttons on. One of the like kind of constraints in sewing the buttons on is I didn't have thread I liked to sew on. So I had the buttons. Well, first let me share what the yarn is. I have mentioned this in a prior episode, but this yarn is Stitch Together Studios Rise Up or Rise Together. I think Rise Together, but from Stitch Together Studios. It's very fun purple. I had bought it for myself to knit myself a sweater. I was thinking like a rift tee, but Mathilda picked out the yarn for her Ankers sweater. Mathilda, my 3-year-old, she was very picky, so I thought, you know, I'll just let her pick her own color for her sweater, and this is what she picked. And in this purple, there's these little, every now and then, little blips of neon yellow, which I think is so special. So I decided I wanted neon yellow thread to sew my buttons on. So I finally remembered to like look for that and purchase that. Maybe it's not really showing up here, but in person it's a fluorescent yellow, which I think looks pretty cool on this. The buttons came from my friend Brenda. So my friend Brenda, 2 or 3 years ago, was on sabbatical, and she had a Fulbright project in Estonia. And so she was in Estonia and she bought some incredible yarn there, and she asked me if I wanted anything, and she sent me pictures of these, like this little shot that had like buttons, and so I was like, yes. And I had requested buttons for a cardigan. I didn't have this colorway yet, but it just has worked out really well. So I showed this to Mathilda, and she was really excited about this, and I am too. So this is my second Ankers Jacket. I think is that the pattern's called Ankers Jacket from Petite Knit. This is my second Ankers Jacket that I've knit for Mathilda. The first one doesn't fit her anymore, which is why I've knit her another one. I don't remember the size I knitted in. I do remember there was a 7/8 size, which was the largest size in the pattern, and I know I didn't do that. So I do know that, oh, this is interesting. So for the modifications for this, I knit this substantially longer than the pattern suggested, which I wanted to mention because pretty much the only modification I made on my Ankers tee, or summer shirt, I'll just call it a tee because it's not summer shirt for me, is I knit it substantially small, like shorter. For my size, or the length it suggested would make it quite long, and I looked at the pictures online and how she styled it, and it looks like she wears it very blousy and almost like does that French tuck kind of like look, and I do like that look, but for me, I knew that I would want it more cropped, and so I knit it much, much shorter. So I had a lot of yarn left over, which if you've been watching these episodes, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's truly appreciated. But if you've been watching, you know that I've ordered a 4th hank because I didn't think I had enough yarn. I only used 3. So I only used 3, so I did not need the 4th. So I have this whole extra hank left over, which I think is funny to me. Oh well, better safe than sorry, and I do have plans for it, which I will talk about eventually. All right, so that makes 2 finished objects for this episode, but really it's 2.5. I have a half object. So I have a finished sock, and this is knit in my vanilla sock recipe that I do. Maybe with the only modification to what I typically do is that I made the ribbing much longer than I typically do for this, because I really liked this bright green color and wanted some more of it. So this yarn was part of a test knit that I participated in, and it wasn't a test knit for a pattern, but a test knit for yarn. And this yarn is now available through Pacific Northwest Purls, and it's a kit called It's Showtime, which is related to this movie Beetlejuice, which is perfect for spooky season. And I just think it's so cool. It's came packaged very sweetly, although now it's all wound up in little cakes. But essentially, well, this half object is also a whip. I'll show you my whip. So basically, you get mini skeins, and one of the mini skeins is a purple to white gradient, which is what I'm working now. So I'm so excited about this. So I did the cuff green, and now I'm doing the cuff purple, and then I did the toe purple, and then I'll do the toe green on the other sock. I think that'll be so cute. And so basically when I knit this, it was a mini skein that went from this very fluorescent green down to white. So it was a gradient mini skein. And then I switched, and I actually, for my second sock, so I can do it similarly, I put a little stitch marker, a little light bulb stitch marker here. So when I'm doing it, I'll know, okay, I switched to self-striping on this row. So that'll be really helpful to me. And so then you knit the self-striping, and then you switch to another gradient for the toe. And there's a little black mini included for your heel. So there's lots of minis. So in a way, they're kind of like scrappy socks, but like, this is your product. So yeah, it's very scrappy because I guess this was a little skein, this was a skein. So 4 little skeins essentially create this, which is darling. I love it so much. And I did something, I put a little light bulb here. So I have these little light bulb markers where I switch skeins so I can try and make my second one be as close as possible to it. And I did something on this that I was just really proud of myself for. So when you knit self-striping yarn and you don't do a cut and heel, you do a heel flap and gusset, which is, this is black, so it's hard to tell. I did a heel flap and gusset here. When you do a heel flap and gusset, when you're at this part of your sock, the circumference of your sock has increased. So for instance, I'm doing a 64 stitch count here around. But when I'm here, at this stripe here, I have my instep, and then I have the side of this gusset, the side of the other gusset, and it's more than 64 stitches. So since the circumference increases, the stripes get thinner when you're using self-striping yarn. And it doesn't bother me because I love a heel flap and gusset. So when I use self-striping yarn, I just do that and I deal with the smaller stripe, and it's ever so slightly smaller. Like it usually ends up only, if the width of your stripe is 5 or 6 stitches, perhaps it ends up being a 4 stitch wide stripe. So it really doesn't affect it too much, but I had this idea. So when I did the heel flap and this, I was thinking, well, I'm gonna have plenty for my second sock. So what I then did is, instead of picking this up right away for the gusset like I normally do, I knit another row in black around. So then when I joined this in, it kept the stripe sequence the same, like width, and it turned out like perfect. So these stripes are, like this stripe is not thinner, it's still the same width because of what I did. So that turned out so cool. That strategy really only works on this particular sock kit if you're going black, white, and then you do the switch at the white. And then I also wanted to make sure when I like this little jagged tooth where it's like black and white like this. So when I did the slip stitches, I knew I wanted to do it right on the switch from the white to the black, so that could kind of look really cool like that. So I have started the second sock, which I'm not very good at finishing a whole pair of socks. It's just not a life talent of mine. But I think maybe a key to me actually finishing the second sock, because I have finished the second sock on a few socks now, is just starting the second one. So I did start it. I haven't been working on this since October 1st because I've been distracted by other things, which you will see, but I am doing this as part of a knit along. First I will say I met the deadline for this. I think the deadline for completing this whole sock was September 30th, and I met it in plenty of time, and I was really proud of myself. So I do not miss an episode of the Crazy Sock Lady, like Kay at the Crazy Sock Lady. Like, it is my very first podcast, I think, that I got very into. I just never miss an episode. And so she is co-hosting a Spooky Socks Make-Along 2021. I think the hashtag is Spooky Socks MAL, M-A-L, 2021, with Natalie from Knitty Natty and also Moonglow Fiber, I think. And I'm not participating in that only because I cast this on prior to their October 1st cast on date. So what I am participating in is the Spooky Stitches Mal. So the hashtag is Spooky Stitches Mal, which I'll put here. And that's hosted by the We Share Needles podcast. And if you follow that hashtag, one thing that's really fun is it's not just socks, it's anything spooky. And their cast on date was, I don't remember, I think it might have been September 1st. It was basically, it worked out well for my test knit, so this is part of it. I have it in my planner when it's over. I think it might be October 17th or something. Their thought being then that you would have something to wear that's spooky for Halloween, which is really fun. And so if today is October 7th, finishing this by October 17th is 100% possible. I'm not sure I will do it because I have really enjoyed that hashtag. I did not know. I don't know how I did not know, but it makes sense that sweaters have been designed in the world that have pumpkins on them. Like, where have I been? Knitstagram. It's like, I mean, seriously, I've really enjoyed that hashtag. And now I'm like, I seriously just like wanted to like go buy a bunch of yarn and cast on a Halloween sweater. I mean, why didn't I? I think the only reason why I didn't is that I knew that it would not be possible for me to finish in time this year. I mean, but I definitely think that's something I want to do next year. Like, so I would probably, I mean, let's talk about future plans, futuristic thinker here, but I would probably, for me, I would want, if I was going to do a color work Halloween sweater, I would probably want to cast it on like August 1st so I could have it for October. So anyway, go follow the hashtag Spooky Stitches Mal. You will not be sorry. Okay, so, speaking of the We Share Needles podcast and the Spooky Stitches Mal, a little personal digression is I also didn't know about Vlogtober. I knew about Vlogmas, that people do stuff in December for Christmas and make vlogs. I didn't know about Vlogtober. And I have fallen down a rabbit hole watching Maddie from the We Share Needles podcast and also Kristen from the We Share Needles podcast. I'm not very good at following along with Vlogmas. I sometimes feel like just a lot of videos. It's hard for me to get through everybody's. And so for Vlogtober, for this October, I've decided that the only Vlogtobers I'm going to watch are Maddie and Kristen's. I'm not going to watch anybody else's. And that's not to say that everybody else's isn't amazing. It's just, it's hard to watch all the things. And so that's what I'm going to watch. But I've really been enjoying watching theirs as well. They're really funny. I have one more whip to show you. There are many other whips in my life, but what I'm showing you today is just what I've worked on in the last 2 weeks since I last filmed an episode. So what I have here is a love note. And I have it in a spooky bag. I got this at the Knitting Cup, which I talk more about that in my video on interview with the Knitting Cup. And so this is my 4th love note, and the 4th love note is for my daughter Mathilda. And I I'd say I cast this on at the cast on party, but what I really did was just crochet a chain at the cast on party. And once the cast on party ended on Friday, I came out to the living room and watched some TV with my husband and actually cast on. And this is what I have done so far. So I've split for the sleeves and I'm on the body. Honestly, the love note goes so fast. So knitting a child's love note goes really fast as well. I thought I would be done within like a few days, honestly, but I think I've just been, I think I ended up pouring in some time into my Ankers fall tee so I could get that done and have it completed as part of the knit along for the Ankers Obsessed Knit Along. So I've just, yeah, so I should really cruise on this. And tomorrow I'm actually going to meet up at a coffee shop in my town with somebody who I met through the podcast here who lives near me. And so we're going to knit our love notes together and I'm really excited about that. And okay, the yarn, I've mentioned this before, but I'll show it again and mention it. Let's see here. Well, maybe I'll hold it up a little longer so you can see it. It's got a touch of a halo. I don't know if you can see that on there. So, I don't know if you say this. Attire, is that how you say it? Alpaca 2. And it is 50% alpaca and 50% wool, which is why it has that little fuzz factor naturally. And so then, this is also Attire mohair. This colorway is peach. I don't remember what this one is, but I think they look really good together. And it's definitely a fuzzier mohair than any of the ones I've made myself. And I think it's because I have knit 2 love notes that have mohair and one with Surrey alpaca. And the one with mohair, the ones with mohair are not as fuzzy as this, and I think it's this combination of an alpaca base with the mohair. I really like it a lot and it feels very soft. I don't think Mathilda will find it itchy at all. Hopefully not, at least. And okay, what I would say I'm doing pretty much no modifications other than the fact that the size is not quite, my gauge is not perfect. So the size of this is larger than the size 2-4, but smaller than the 4-6, which is actually perfect for the size that Mathilda is. So, and I love the fabric, so I'm really excited about it. I have a little progress keeper here. This is the one I kept from the Jen from the Hand Stitched Life that she donated. I thought it was just, I love birds. And I just thought it was so cute. And I did use, and it comes with these matching little stitch markers, and I did use these for the lace around just to try it, and they worked out really well. Oh, I didn't use them around for the lace. I did not, but I did use them for the armhole separation. Yeah, so I used 4. When I was saying that, I was like, it doesn't sound like me to use them for this lace repeat, just because for me, I like have this lace repeat memorized now. I almost don't really, I don't need it. Although I would say if you're new to lace knitting or it's your first time knitting it, you might want to put a stitch marker every 12 or 24 or 36 stitches, whatever you prefer. Any multiple of 12 since it's a 12 stitch repeat. So then when you get to the end of the stitch marker, if it doesn't match up with your chart, you'll know if you've made an error or not. So I'm not really gonna set any goals like I want to finish it by this or whatever, so I don't feel disappointed or anything like that. And I do want to knit one for myself. I did gauge swatch and I did not get gauge, and so I need to make another gauge swatch, but I don't want to cast mine on until I'm done with Mathilda's because I've knit 3 of them for myself, so I really feel like I need to knit one for Mathilda. If you're participating in this Love Knit Along, you can participate on Ravelry. There's a chatter thread and a finished objects thread. And in the chatter thread, people are active in there, and it's been a joy just to see people's yarn that they're using and like how things are turning out. And the other way, if you don't use Ravelry, you can participate in it on Instagram with the hashtag Love Knit Along, and that's been really fun too. And you can follow hashtags, so I'm following it now so I can see what people are posting. And I was telling Kyle, my husband, we were taking a lunchtime walk today, and I was telling him, it actually just makes me want to knit more. Like, I've already knit 3 of these sweaters. I'm knitting a 4th one, and seeing everybody's yarn selections and things, it's making me want to knit like a 5th and a 6th. And I was like talking about it on our walk, and I was like, I think the reason why I love this sweater so much, besides the fact that it is a fast knit because it's a larger gauge, I think the other thing is I really like boxy clothes. And it's boxy and cropped, which is like one of my favorite styles. And then as a mom, I feel like I'm always like rolling up my sleeves for something, you're washing something, like always washing your hands or cleaning up something. And the way the sleeves are, which you could just modify any sweater pair to be this way, so I don't know why I feel so passionate about this, but also like the sleeves are like the perfect length. They come like right here, so I'm never pushing them up or anything. They're just perfect. So I think that's part of the obsession, is that it's something very wearable for me. Okay, let's switch to the sip knit segment. So I'm drinking pumpkin spice brulee tea from Teavana in this really fun mug. And it's an oolong tea, and I did put some cream in it, and it's super fall vibes, like just complete fall vibes, and it's so good. Okay, and this mug, okay, where I live, there's definitely a culture of wine, and with that, there's also like an art culture as well. I'm sure that everybody has like an art scene where they live, but it's really fun. We have like the first Friday of the month, there's like an art walk and things like this. And I bought this from a local artist named Jennifer Joy. I'll link her below. And I just love her mugs, and I have several of them. She makes other things besides mugs, like flower pots. I have purchased some of those. I have earrings from her. I really like her style. She's super sweet. She also is like a boss babe with a young children as well. And I just really like supporting her. Now with COVID, I haven't seen her do this, but before the pandemic, she had a pink little camper that she would drive through town, and you could like go in the pink camper and like purchase some of her ceramics. To me, all of her work has a joy about it, which almost sounds sort of cheesy because her name's Jennifer Joy, but to me, it's just really joyful. And I love this big mug, so I just fill it to the tip top with tea. For the sip knit segment, although I was rambling about the mug, what I actually want to talk to you about is fall teas. So I was talking to Emily on Instagram, and her handle is The Botanical Knitter. And I was talking to Lauren, and her handle is Granite State Yarns, both separately. Lauren had posted in her Instagram story some David's tea, like I think it was like a pumpkin spice brulee, and I was so envious. And I was like, I need to buy more tea. I really don't need to buy more tea. I have a a cabinet full of tea. Like probably the last thing I need to do is buy tea. And so I was like, I'm going to look through this cabinet, and behold, there's this tea here. And the story about this tea, this Teavana tea, is that this is 2 years old, and or older actually. It's at least 2 years old. Basically, Teavana tea had a little store in the mall, and they sold all kinds of tea. And how I got into David's tea is Teavana closed down. And I went onto Teavana's just a couple days ago, Teavana's website. And they don't, as far as I can tell, they don't sell tea like this anymore. Like this cute tin that says what it is and says how to prepare your tea in the back, and the ingredients in this tea: cinnamon, carob pieces, white chocolate pieces, pumpkin pieces, chocolate flakes, pumpkin seeds, ginger, chicory root, nutmeg, allspice, coconut blossom sugar, cloves. It's just fall in a tin. But they don't sell this. And so because they don't sell it anymore, I've been just like, and I love it. It's one of my favorite teas for fall. So I just keeping it in my cabinet, like to treasure it. And what? Looking at Lauren's post and like me wanting to get David's tea, I was like, I shouldn't be just like hoarding tea. It'll go bad. Like I need to have it. And so ever since she posted that, I've been having at least 1 or 2 pots of the pumpkin spice brulee. Okay, so then I was talking to Emily at the Botanical Knitter, and she too ordered some David's tea. She got the fall sampler pack. And now I don't feel like I can withhold anymore. I like, this is almost gone. So I just want to show you. No, I'm kidding. There's not that much left. So, I mean, I should order the fall sampler. Tell me about your favorite fall tea. That's not the question for the giveaway, but it can be if you want. There will be a giveaway later, coming here soon. But you know, if you want to answer that instead of the giveaway question later, let me know what your favorite fall tea is. Okay, so I want to do a segment on a well-worn knit. I suppose this could have been it because this is older, but I have been watching on Instagram and on the podcasts everybody's enthusiasm about the upcoming Stephen West mystery knit along, and people have been purchasing colors, like 5 different colors of yarn, and it just looks incredible. And I've only tried to participate in a Stephen West knit along once, and it was a fail. It was the Color Craving shawl in 2013. And it was a fail for me because I just didn't like it. Like I didn't like the big holes, and it was a very, very scalene triangle, and I ended up ripping it out. And so I haven't done one since, which is silly because out of all of his mystery knit alongs, they're all incredible. Every single one of them. And I think that's the only one I don't like. I think the other reason why I haven't participated is I think some of it has to do with like self-talk to yourself that isn't necessarily always positive. Like sometimes I'll say things to myself like, well, you're not really a shawl knitter. You can't do that because like you don't have that skill. I'm sure we've all been there when we maybe don't have the best self-talk to ourselves. And I guess there's so many shawl patterns out there that I actually feel intimidated by, particularly those that have brioche, or I should say that had brioche. I did past tense felt intimidated. And so in March 2020, when we really, at the start of the pandemic, when we really hunkered down, I decided to have a pandemic project like everybody. And my pandemic project was my first brioche project, which was a shawl. And it was incredible, and it gave me so much comfort, and I discovered brioche is actually really rhythmic, and it's not as intimidating as it seems. And so I'll show you my shawl. But it's a well-worn knit. I am a shawl knitter, even despite some of that self-talk I have for myself about my shawl knitting. Okay, what? It's so good. It's giant. So this is my chrysalis shawl from Lavagna Patricella, and I knit it out of chain fibers. I did not keep the labels, and so I went onto their website today to try to figure out what these colors are. So the thing about brioche that's just really cool is it's reversible, which makes this shawl reversible. So this side you can see the Surrey alpaca part pops out. And on this side you can see the fingering. Well, maybe you can't see it, it doesn't turn out to be a high contrast here, but that. I used way more yarn than the pattern called for, and I'm guessing that's because I did not swatch. You know, swatching. I just don't really swatch for shawls, and I have a loose gauge, so they always turn out bigger than they're supposed to. I did size down 2 needles, but still, I love this. So the very fuzzy, kind of bright green was the Surrey alpaca, I think Chain Fibers calls that, melted Surrey. And the pattern suggested 1 hank of that. I used 2 full ones. Like, I didn't even do the full pattern actually. I had to stop before the pattern ended because I just ran out of Surrey. So I just stopped when I ran out of Surrey. And I used nearly all of the fingering. And then I had 1 hank of fingering, single. And I enjoyed this so much, I remember finishing thinking, do I have any single skeins of fingering that I could just find some Surrey to go with, because this was so enjoyable to make and it's beautiful. And so and what was nice about it is it broke up, like this is like a very easy lace situation going, and then in brioche, lace situation, brioche. So it was very rhythmic, but like interesting. And even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, why am I not knitting another one of these? It was so good. And I love wearing it, and it's so warm, and I think it's so cute. And you can wear it with your leggings like I am, or you can wear it with a dress. Or it's so warm and big, you could wear it with a jacket as like a layering piece for outside in the winter. It's really great. And although I couldn't figure out what this Surrey is, I did actually remember what this kind of blue color is. It's in between. And the reason I remembered is because I thought that the name was very beautiful and perfect. It was petrichor, which is the pleasant smell that you might smell after a rain, which I feel like is Oregon, where I live. It's like literally what's happening right now. And so I know these aren't your like traditional fall colors, but for me, this is like my fall shawl. I love it so much. And I can knit shawls, and I can do brioche. I've done some brioche since on another shawl. And so maybe next year I'll do the Stephen West make along. Or if I don't do the mystery one, maybe I'll knit a Stephen West shawl one of these days. I think they're a little intimidating. Let me know also if you're doing the Stephen West make along, or if you've knit a Stephen West shawl, let me know. I realized I did not show you one of my whips. The end date for the Ankers Obsessed knit along, co-hosted by Lucy from This Nanny Knits and Alexandra from Fiberbound, is October 9th, so Saturday, October 9th, I think. And so this is not part of it. But since I finished the buttons on it and I had leftover yarn, I thought I need to knit Mathilda's doll and Ankers cardigan to match. And there's this little pattern here. So today's Thursday, October 7th, so that would mean I would need to knit this cardigan in 2 days to meet the deadline. And it's possible. I'm gonna try, why not? I just think it'll be fun to try, so I'm gonna try. And that made me think about how I said I had a whole extra hank left of my Cervidae yarn from my Ankers summer tee, fall tee. And I am gonna knit my American Girl doll. I have like 4 American Girl dolls. I'm gonna knit my American Girl doll a matching Ankers. So Petite Knit has lots of Ankers and doll patterns. So this is the jacket. So since Mathilda has the cardigan, I thought I'd knit her American Girl doll a matching sweater. And since I have the short sleeve kind of pullover, I thought I'd knit my doll a matching one. So, and a sidebar about that. If you like doll knitting and American Girl dolls, there is a group called American Girl Doll Knitters on Ravelry, which I enjoy. I'm not really active in it, but I do enjoy creeping over there every now and then. Okay. Back to the dream knitting. I got distracted realizing my whip was sitting on top of the dream knitting, and I thought, oh no, I didn't share one of my whips. Okay, so all the whips are done. I can talk about my dream knitting. There's so much dream knitting, but today, a pattern came out today, and I normally don't buy patterns until I'm ready to knit them. It's just who I am, but I bought this pattern immediately, and I'm so excited about it. It is called Fern and Feather. Now you might be thinking, Fern and Feather, that's a sweater by Jennifer Steinglass. Like, it's an iconic sweater. That is an iconic sweater. This is also called Fern and Feather. It's just a different pattern. And that's printed off from my computer, so I'm sure it's not. Let's see if there's any other pictures. This is designed by Annie Haas from This Bird Knits Designs. Okay, this is perhaps my only picture I have of it right here. But let me get in a little closer here. So this is mohair held double, and the green is Surrey. So Farmer's Daughter Fibers has a Surrey that's thicker than a lace, so you hold that single, and then she used Tier Rituals Dyes mohair held double, which is lace weight, so 2 lace weights makes like a fingering. This has to be so light and fluffy. I do not have any yarn for this. I love it so much though. I have no idea when I would cast this on. Funny story about this is I saw this, I was like, this is amazing. And so I went up to my husband and I was like, I know exactly what I want for Christmas. I've got an idea for you. I want the yarn for this sweater right here. This would be amazing. And he goes, I got you a Christmas present and it's your yarn advent. You're already getting yarn. And I was like, I totally forgot about that. So that's, yeah. I was that like enamored by it that I even like forgot about my December knitting plans, everything. I just like wanted to like drop everything and cast this on. It just looks like my style, and I just cannot say no to the Surrey. I've knit, this is my first Surrey project here, and then I've knit a love note with some Surrey, and I love mohair. So the idea of knitting them in the same garment, this has to be just so lightweight and incredible. And I love color work, and there's lace in it. So it's like color work, lace, everything. The other thing I want to say about it is not only is it a fair price and a beautiful pattern, but 50% of the proceeds of this pattern go to a nonprofit organization called Sisters United. And what I was reading about on the website about Sisters United is it's this nonprofit that really supports women and children who are Indigenous. And it just looks like they're doing so much outreach that is centered on empowerment of Indigenous people. And it made me love the pattern even more. So I think even if you don't plan on knitting it right away, it might be a fun way to support a really nice organization too. Okay, so the giveaway. The giveaway for this episode is another set of Progress Keepers, and they're from a maker who I really enjoy called Trinkles. And these are in person very iridescent, but in person you can see what's on them. I just feel like the phone isn't catching up. But it's a unicorn on the front side of the unicorn and the back side of the unicorn. And the front side of the unicorn has a little RS for right side, and then the back side of the unicorn says WS for wrong side. So if you're knitting a sweater, you could put a stitch marker for wrong side, and you could put a stitch marker for the right side to mark it. Normally I only use one of these stitch markers, like to mark what my right side is, but I think it's fun. They're so cute. Why not use two? And Shawnee from the Knitting Cup, who I interviewed, whose video is on my channel, she donated this to the podcast. And so thank you, Shawnee. And so this is the giveaway. So the question is to tell me about your festive knitting. What I mean by that is, are you knitting something Halloween inspired right now? Tell me about it. Or do you have a yarn advent coming? Like perhaps you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and you have some sort of like holiday advent coming. I forgot about mine, as I mentioned, which made me realize I need to make some plans. So if you have some plans, I would love to know what they are so that I can start thinking about what I'm going to do with mine, because I had a very clear pattern in mind last year. Like I knew August, September, I was going to do the adventurous wrap. And I'm just not as certain this year. So I would love to hear about current spooky season makes, but also maybe future festive things you're thinking about, particularly if you have an advent. So you can answer that question for this giveaway. And if neither of those questions sound appealing, don't forget you can tell me about your favorite fall tea or favorite fall drink. So, okay. From this point forward, it is purely personal things I'm going to be sharing on the podcast. So if you need to go now and you're not here for the personal stuff, thank you so much for watching. It's just such a delight that people show up and comment and participate in community around here. So thank you so much. All right, since the last time I filmed an episode, I've flown to Austin, Texas and back. I hinted that I went to Texas because I talked about the Knitting Cup interview, which is on my channel, but I didn't go into the ins and outs of like why I went to Texas and things like that. So the reason why I went to Texas was to visit my friend Brenda. And it was a really short trip because it was really hard to leave Mathilda, but even though it was short, it was really fun. And we went to the Knitting Cup and we planned on doing some yarn shopping and knitting together. And so that happened. The other thing we planned on doing was going to the Erin Condren store in Austin, Texas. So I am a paper planner, and I have been using Erin Condren life planners since 2012, and I love my paper planner life. I mean, there's nothing like a Google Calendar and digital stuff. Like it's so important to do those things. But for me, I really like paper planning, and I actually use multiple paper planners. Erin Condren planners specifically, and there is a few flagship stores in the United States, one of them being in Austin, Texas. I've never been, and so I knew I wanted to go. And so to help you appreciate it, I'll show you a couple of my planners, and I might have to refrain myself because I use multiple planners and I don't want to like spend tons of time talking about non-knitting content that people are not interested in. But this is my life planner, and the covers are like interchangeable, so you can hear that little snap. So this one has ghosts on it because it's spooky season, and so I'll switch it out for November, and I'll put a Thanksgiving one, and I've got a Christmas one. And I love to decorate my pages, so every week I spend time doing stickers, decorating. So like here's an example of a page, and I also have a sprocket where I can print off pictures from my phone that are stickers. So like there's Mathilda in the sand on the beach. And so I use the life planner for my life. So appointments, Mathilda's lessons, what I'm reading, things like that. And I also use it for my research. So that is what I use my life planner for. But I was starting to, when we switched from being fully in person to being digital in 2020 for teaching, I was feeling overwhelmed with my to-do lists. And so last year I switched to a paper planner for my teaching. And I had used a paper planner when I was a high school math teacher, but as a college professor, I had not used a paper planner. I always just did everything digitally. And my goodness, was it so fun. I just randomly opened up to a page, and so you can see like I did the same whole sticker situation. And I mean, every week I would look. This is really cute. So you can see I use my little sprocket. And so every week I would use stickers, and I would use my paper planner. And I actually loved paper planning so much for my lesson plans that I don't think I'll go back. I did not have to buy one of these this year because I'm on sabbatical and I'm not teaching, but next year when I go back to teaching, I will, I'm planning on getting one of these. It was magical, just magical. And even just like how I organize to start my class. So I always start all my classes with a would you rather question, and I make little magnets for each of my students, and I put the magnets on the doorway. And so then when they come in, they grab their name, and then most whiteboards are magnetized, so then they could take and put their name on the would you rather. So like I even have my would you rather questions organized by semester in the beginning. It's just, I love it so much. I was gonna fall into the rabbit hole. I can see it very quickly where I'm wanting to tell you all about my planners. So, okay, a couple more things. They have like little folios and things like this, and like I have a gratitude journal. These are multiple notebooks in here. I keep track of what Mathilda reads. I did this thing where I wanted to read 1,000 books before kindergarten, which we actually have already met, but I was tracking all of her books and things like that. And so keep that in here. They have like little mini notebooks. So like, for example, I use my sprocket and I print off a book I've read and then I write about it, things like that. All right, I'm gonna stop because I would keep going. I would rabbit hole. It's so good. I love my paper planning life. So I got to go to the mothership, right? And I was carry-on, and I had already gone to a yarn store. So I knew I did not want to buy much, and I did not. I really didn't, and I bought very small amounts of things. I just got 2 notebooks, which I will use. This one says, the best time for new beginnings is now. And I have tons of these notebooks, so like I didn't need another one, but this is what got me. It's pink pages on the inside. I was like, I have to. I have to. Okay, then I have a gold notebook like this already that I use as like a personal journal. And so this one is like kind of rose gold and has beautiful flowers on it. And there's this like kind of rose gold bookmark, and it's got rose gold on the side, and you get lined or dot. I really like dot paper. And so, yeah, so those are my notebooks I got. I use these notebooks for everything. But it's basically anything in your life that you're like, I might need to think about as a mom. Like, it helps me to like keep lists of things. I even, for this podcast, have a little notebook. This one's from Erin Condren as well. And actually, you could get the things personalized at the store, although I did not get those personalized. But this one says Nicole on the front. And so you can get your notebooks personalized. I have one even for Mathilda that's much like this, where I just write down funny things she says and stuff like that. And this one's my podcast one. Kind of matches my shawl. Anyway, so Brenda also uses Erin Condren, and her daughters also use Erin Condren. So it was fun to go there with her, and it was so good. And most of the things that are in their physical store you can get online, so it was not like necessarily like you have to go in person. Like you can, like, it was just fun to see the stuff in person. And when I said this aloud to my husband and to Brenda, I was kind of laughing. I was like, the Erin Condren store is so well organized. Of course it is, because it's an organization, a company. Okay, so yeah, I love Erin Condren. If you are interested in checking out some Erin Condren products and end up wanting to buy some Erin Condren, they have like a referral, like a referral link for $10 off, which I've used a ton with Brenda and like other friends in my life, and you can create one too. And yeah, so I'll have that below if you're interested. But okay, so we went to the yarn store, we went to the Erin Condren store. While we were in Austin, she was like, do you want to go to anywhere else? And I really didn't. That was about it. I basically was like, I just want to hang out with you and knit. So that's what we did. We went back to her house, did some hot tubbing, some knitting, some wine drinking, and some movie watching, all of it. And it was super, super fun. Now, Brenda is participating in the Love Knit Along, so I was teaching her the provisional cast on. But I thought this was her first sweater. Turns out this was not the first sweater she's ever knit. The first sweater she ever knit was like in the 90s, and she had it still, so she showed it to me. And I hope I remember to pop in some pictures here. But it was knit in pieces out of a rustic yarn held with mohair. And this mohair was incredible. It was so long, the mohair. Like, I put her sweater on, and like the fuzz on it, it wasn't not comparable to any mohair I've ever knit with. It was like almost like eyelash yarn, but like mohair. And yeah, I like was trying to catch it in a video and in a picture, and so we'll see if it can pop in here and you can see it. But I was really envious of Brenda's 90s sweater. It was so good. Okay. Also, since last time I filmed an episode, my husband and I have gone on 2 wine tastings. So even though I did this trip, we found time to hang out, and we've done 2 wine tastings. We actually did a wine tasting the Thursday before I left for Texas, and then we did a wine tasting last weekend. The Thursday before I left for Texas, we did a wine tasting at Argyle Winery, which is in Dundee, Oregon, and we have a membership there where basically it's a commitment to buy a certain amount of bottles of wine each. I don't know if it's month or quarter. I actually have no idea. But they have like also kind of member benefits. And one of them was this little members only party. And before the pandemic, their parties were just like so amazing. Like they'd have food trucks, they would have stuff catered and be lots of eating. Like but obviously with the pandemic, things are different. So this was amazing. The party was outdoors, and you got a charcuterie board, and I think like everybody's doing charcuterie boards now. Like I actually like want to join some Facebook groups about charcuterie boards. And anyway, what was special about it though is they had everything on the board paired with your wine, so you could like know what to eat with your wine. And then they had, so this is actually an artist drew picture of what our charcuterie board looked like, which I thought was really cool. It looked just like this, except actual food. Maybe I'll pop in a picture. And paired together. We did not get to do like the perfect pairing because we had Mathilda with us. And I'm pretty sure she ate all of our dried cherries. And what else did she eat all of? She ate, there was like, the honey. She ate all the honey. And the Olympic Provision Sweetheart ham. She ate all of that. So like, we didn't quite get the full experience, but it was, it was super fun. And for the winery that we went to last weekend, it was called Brooks, which is in Amity, Oregon. And Kyle's from Northern Illinois, and his graduating class was 28 students, a really small rural town. But 2 of his high school classmates actually live out here. And so they're members at Brooks. And so we met up with them. And I've never been to Amity, Oregon or any wineries out there, but we met up with them and sat, it was indoors, but it was outdoors. Like, so we were indoors, but it had these big, wide sliding glasses. So we were like sitting outside, but covered. And the view was incredible. And they had chickens. And so Mathilda could go feed the chickens, and their chickens were super cute. And it was just, I think, really special that we were able to connect with some people that Kyle went to high school with. And this week, in very exciting news, our public library opened back up. So our public library, I think, had been physically closed for at least 2 months. Essentially, with the Delta variant of COVID, there was an outbreak at the library. Like, the librarians got COVID, and they, even for curbside pickup, couldn't staff curbside pickup all the time because people were sick. And so it opened back up this week, and it was just, we love our library and we love going to our library, and like using the library was like definitely a part of how, before the pandemic, how I parented. Like, before the pandemic, there was toys there was classes, and so anyway, I love the library. So I was just so excited it was open. So we went the day it was open, and Mathilda was super excited. And she was excited because she's very into spooky season. And so we checked out a bunch of books about Halloween, and she was super pumped about it. At our library, they have this thing called the Library of Things. So you can actually check out things like a spiralizer for noodles, like pans, literally you can just check out things. And one of the librarians was like, we've got a bunch of new games over here. And I went over there, and I follow Anna on, I think it's the Bluebird Box. The Bluebird Box on Instagram. She's a designer, and she's got incredible designs, just side note. And I noticed in her stories that she was playing this bird bingo with her kids. So when I saw bird bingo, I thought, I'll try that out. My bird bingo is different than hers. I messaged her about it. Hers is North American birds only. This bird bingo is North American birds, European birds, Southern Hemisphere birds, like all kinds of birds. But we've played bird bingo every day this week. Mathilda has really enjoyed that, so that's been really fun. About the spooky season stuff, there's not words to describe how into spooky season Mathilda is. Like, if you think that you have a thing for pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkins and all things fall, however you're feeling joyous about that, just amp that up times 10 and you might reach Mathilda's level. Like, she's just so into the pumpkins, and it's adorable, really. But all she was asking about was buying pumpkins. And so on Saturday, we have a local vegetable stand, fruit stand, and we just went there to buy a pumpkin to appease her, essentially. I'm hoping to go to a pumpkin patch, actually, but we didn't have time this Saturday. Maybe it was Sunday. I don't recall which day, but we didn't have time. Oh, it was Saturday. So we buy this pumpkin, and she's just asking about making a jack-o'-lantern. So Sunday, when we got back from the winery, we made a jack-o'-lantern, and she just was so happy. And it was like October 3rd. I don't think I've ever carved a pumpkin that soon in October. So, and so we still need to go to a pumpkin patch, at least one or two. So I really appreciate her enthusiasm. So yesterday she was like, Mommy, we need to go back to the library and return our books. And I was like, we were just at the library yesterday. And then she said, I need more pumpkin books. Oh, so I think I brought over a couple. This personal part of sharing has turned out to be way too long. So I brought over all of her pumpkin books that she's really into, but I'm just going to show the one that was very underrated to me that I didn't think was that awesome, but she loves it. And now she reads it to us. I mean, she doesn't read words. She's 3, but like, it's the pictures. So basically, I'll show you her favorite. It talks about like cleaning a jack-o'-lantern. I think this is how she knew. So this part here where it shows like all the faces of the pumpkins that you can carve, she was like acting them out, and like, and she always acts them out, I should say, and she's really into it. And so she was really excited about creating our own. So and I think it was this book, really. And we own this book, but I think my mom sent it to us like for Halloween one year. And but I did see it at our library as well, just this last time when we went. Okay. I really wanted to talk about reading. I haven't been talking about it in the episodes, and I think part of it is that they are just turning out so long that I just am not. So I'll end on talking about reading. So on October 1st, I follow Shelby in the book club on Instagram and on YouTube. She's the daughter of like the iconic Gigi Made It. You probably already know all this, actually, but I love following her. She's a young woman who is just so passionate and bright about books. It like inspires me. And so she has created this challenge that's called the 100-Day Reading Challenge, just to read whatever, like reading's reading, but read every day for 100 days. And it started October 1st. And she has a group if you use Goodreads. And so I joined her 100-Day Reading Challenge. And it's so good for my mental health to make sure that I'm like taking time for myself to read. And that's like one of her messages is in all of her kind of episodes, really, is to make sure that you're taking time for yourself. And part of that is through reading, you know, not just scanning social media, watching TV. And so it was really great to like join a group where she's got like little prompts and things like that. And I'm keeping track of it in my Erin Condren planner. There's a monthly spread and I have a little grid, and I just do a little check if I've done my daily reading. And so I haven't talked about what I've been reading. I have been reading. And one of the things I'm trying to do is increase the amount of books I'm reading about diversity and equity issues. And so I am reading a book called Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. I am 25% of the way through, and I already feel like I've learned so much. Like, I'm going to keep reading it, but if I stop today, I've learned more from this 25% of this book than I have on many, many books. So it's definitely an equity-centered book. It provides kind of a historical perspective into racial issues, particularly focused on Black Americans in the United States. And I am just really glad that I am making myself read something that's just not easy to read. Like, I'm being intentional about this because I'm growing from it and I'm journaling about it. And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, I have to recommend this book. Then I'm just somebody that always has to read more than one book at a time. And so I'm also reading Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. It is a book that's also a series, a TV series now. I can't remember if the TV series is on Netflix or Hulu. Certainly you've heard of Little Fires Everywhere. I don't even probably need to talk about it. You probably have even read the book already. And that is the other book I'm reading. And it is interesting because I have already watched the TV show, and so like the whole show. And so now I'm reading it. I usually do that backwards, where I like read the thing first and then watch TV, but I've been reading that on my Kindle as I go to bed. I love reading my Kindle before I go to bed. It's a nice way to fall asleep for me. So that's a long personal thing. I'm wondering if I should chop some of this stuff up. I have no idea if I will or not, but if you've made it this far, thank you extra. Fun knitting. Bye.